listening to Racing Rewind, brought to you by Sessions, starting the 22-23 season at Oakland Park Stud. Sessions boasts are better than 80% winners to runners, with average earnings close to $100,000.
Arcadia Queenie had a peep over the right shoulder, and she's going to blow them away. Galaxy Star beats Gadding and Material Man.
Welcome to Racing Rewind, proudly presented by Sessions, who stands the 22-23 season at Oakland Park Stud. If you have an opinion, send a text to 0427 789 571. That's 0427 789 571.
Corporate Bruce and home run, but Northerly, Danny Miller, pumping away, and Northerly wins the railway from old comrade Lizzie Longlegs, flashed up on the inside.
Simmons there. It's Racing Rewind, 12.6 degrees here in Perth. We welcome along Britt and Michael Heaton to the program.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Lockie's on his way back today, I think.
Yes,
so
he's
it's
at the airport at the moment.
Taylor out, Taylor in. You and I don't have to venture for ourselves this week, Mark.
Taylor made.
That's it. Full house in here.
Yeah, tell us about yesterday. First off, anything from the stewards' room we should know about, Michael?
Pretty quiet.
Yeah, pretty quiet there. I did notice there was a little addition to the stewards' report in the summary section. There's a follow-up section now, which I think is quite good. So Harmika and Protege need to be followed up regarding their seemingly disappointing performances. But outside of that, it was pretty quiet. I thought the track played okay, but certainly wanted to be closer to the speed. I think 5 of the 9 winners settled either leading or breezing, and there were a couple of one box seat horse as well. And outside of advanced and perhaps enticing to a lesser extent, you would have wanted to be in the first half of the field yesterday.
Just on stewards' reports, I did notice from the Melbourne stewards' report, Sean McGruddy was suspended for 8 meetings for excessive whip use on Red Can Man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so 8 meetings for him for using the whip on 8 occasions prior to the 100 metres.
So how does that work coming to WA? Is that 8 days or is it 8 actual meetings? Because that would end up being about 2 or 3 weeks in WA.
Well, it says commence midnight 10th of September to expire 18th of September, 3 metro, 5 provincial.
Okay, so it's on Victorian.
Yeah.
Yep. So it'll be the 8 meetings that are in Victoria.
Yep. He still won't be able to ride here for those 8 days.
It's just for that duration.
In that period. And just want to send a shout out to a good mate of mine, Mark Scott. We've had a lot of fun over the years and owned horses, and he actually owned a listed winner in France at Saint-Cloud.
France?
On Friday night. Yeah, he's in a horse called Ottilien, trained by David Manoussier, and Olivia Pallier rode it, and it was a good fighting win. There's more wins in store for that horse. So
how do you buy a share in a horse in France?
Well, he's been in the David Manoussier stable for quite a while, about 3 or 4 years. Manoussier introduced him to the ownership group of Ottilien, and that's how he spends a fair bit of time in the UK. And met the group and said, yeah, I'll buy into that horse. And I think it's 1, 2 from 3 now, and has certainly got a lot of potential. So well done.
Nice.
Let's get on to local racing, and we move to the first event there on Saturday, the Tab Touch West Speed Platinum Maiden Handicap. And I thought this was the call of the week.
Storm Commander, who's being bustled along. Watson's just sitting up nursing Sock-Off. Followed further back, Sunny Silcom Ultimate Command. They've left the 300 behind them. Sock-Off now being shaken up, led by 2.5 to 3 Queenship, who's got right up on the side. Requisition can't go on. Storm Commander's there. Queenship coming around the outside now of Sock-Off. It's Queenship racing up, grabs the lead, and you don't think Her Majesty hasn't got some pull. Queenship home, the omen for the day, has got there from Sock-Off Storm Commander. Behind them then, pulling up next of all.
Yeah, Adam Durant, Clint Johnson, Porter combining with Her Majesty and Queenship, defeating Sock-Off and Storm Commander.
That was an excellent call, wasn't it? You could hear, I reckon, the moment he starts thinking about it is it when he says Queenship comes around the heels. Don't you think Her Majesty has? But the way he said it, it was fantastic.
And Scott Hamilton was saying yesterday, I was out there for the Races WA for filling in for Julio, and Scott said he was speaking to owner Ben Duncan prior to the race, and he was quite confident. He said, well, she's got to be winning. The omen bet of the day here, Queenship, and Julie salutes at a really good price as well.
Certainly does. They made a host of gear changes yesterday. The crossover noseband went on, the Norton came off, tongue tie was off, the earmuffs came off. It was all in an effort just to get her to jump that little bit better. She's a 5-year-old Sessions mare that is only lightly raced. Yesterday was just her 11th start, and she didn't necessarily begin the best. She began with them, but she was quick to muster up into a nice position. Another one who was able to find the rail in run, as you were touching on earlier. This was the fastest of the 3,000 metres races of the day with Sokoff. So skipping along, it just put a lot of these horses out of their comfort zone, but Queenship was always able to sort of travel into it, and when Sokoff was tiptoeing in the end, Queenship was just running over the top.
Yeah, I think the small field certainly played into her hands there, considering she has been getting a bit far back, only coming out of Class 1 races, but yesterday we know that the Westby Platinum races invariably aren't overly strong, but she leant down with a really nice turn of foot. Clint was it was a good ride, cutting the corner, and had a 5-kilo pull on Sokoff, who did tiptoe over the late stages. But Adam Durant's taken a little while for the wheels to get in motion so far this season. I think that's only his second Metropolitan winner for the season, but I think that over the past week or two we've seen the horses really starting to hit their straps, so I can see him really getting going over the next month and into the Ascot season. Sokoff was good, paddled late. Storm Commander, I thought, finished off okay after settling 1 out and 1 back, and Sunny Silk followed the winner throughout and finished off okay, but it was all about Queenship here. Ended up winning by a length and a half, and it was a pretty good win.
It certainly was.
What do we do with Sokoff?
I've made the comment, I remember a couple of shows ago, whether, I think after she won, whether she may be, reminded me a little bit of, I think it was Mia Gusto, when those horses that were just really well placed as 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds in the set weights plus penalties conditions, where you win and then you only go up a kilo or whatever it is, and could really take advantage of that. And she's now a 72 rater. She still is eligible for these type of races, clearly, but I just wonder whether she may have hit her mark somewhat, but 59 kilos there.
That's probably the thing, isn't it? It's the 59 kilos. She's not over big. Very typical of Dion's horses. Jump, run. She can really scut them along. She probably pinches one.
Yep.
You know, if you don't get a Queenship, the others were just so out of their comfort zone, they just couldn't quite reel her in. So you don't get a horse that's able to track you in, and maybe you pinch one here and there, but they are hard horses to follow when they do just sort of tiptoe late.
And looks just an out-and-out 1,000-metre horse as well. So her races are sort of dictated too. She's had 12 starts now, 11 of them at 1,000 metres.
Race number 2, the Tony Maraffa Plate.
From the judge, Just Go will wheel into the home straight. 2 in front, Man Crush. Tiffany Street pushing up on the inside. She's in a commanding spot. Capricorn Man, Costa's Crown trying to work its way through traffic. Then Symphony in red, but they still have to get to the leader at the 175. Just Go, more than 2 in front. Tiffany Street trying hard. Just Go keeps going. About 75 to go. Just Go's got their measure all the way. Just Go goes 2 for 2. Beats home the favourite Tiffany Street, Costa's Crown. Man Crush ran 4th.
Yeah, good win there for Just Go, and gets the money there for Brad Parnham and Dion Luciani going one better. Beats Tiffany Street, Costa's Crown back in 3rd.
We talk about a typical Dion Luciani run. It was almost carbon copy, but this one just kept going. Just Go. What I was remarkable about was when I spoke to Ian Gladding, 85 in work Dion has.
Wow.
It's a serious operation. I mean, a lot of them aren't his own. He's pre-training and everything like that, but you never see Dion on race day. And so Ian Gladding in the post-race was saying, you know, there's no one harder working than Dion. He's doing a really good job with the operation. 85 horses in work, and Just Go was a brilliant performance yesterday. Just they could not reel him in.
I think Dion's got some cattle as well, and last time I spoke to him, I'm pretty sure he's studying at uni, some finance degree as well, so I'm not too sure when he gets time to sleep, but this was a nice win and nothing went right. I think the horse returned with the tongue over the bit on at his race debut back in March off the back of a really nice trial. Went into that race, a $5.50 chance, finished last, turned out for a break, and is now 2 from 2. So clearly he's always had ability, and perhaps that debut run has just been the reason for his starting prices of late, because he's won at double figures both starts this time in. But clearly he's a horse with really high cruising speed, and to his credit, he was able to hold off Tiffany Street and held her through the line, ended up winning by length. And Tiffany Street was taking late ground off of him, but I still thought it was a really good win by Just Go. Tiffany Street perhaps looking for 1,200 metres off of that run, but first up, no trial. You'd expect her to take a lot of benefit. And Costa's Crown's one of my big follows of the meeting on a day that...
Fields report.
On a day that you wanted to be on pace, on the rail. He was back in the field. 1,000 metres I don't think is overly suitable for him, and he just flooded home. And this horse is still a maiden. He's 7 career starts now for 5 placings, including placings in the Perth Stakes, the WA Sires, a 4th in a Karrakatta. It has to be the best maiden, I think, going around in WA. So the options for him are endless. I don't think there'll be much of a price for him wherever he goes next, especially if he did drop in grade. But I think he's a horse with a bright future. And speaking to Sean Casey yesterday, I think he's perhaps a carnival type as well, in their opinion. And Man Crush battled on fairly after settling outside the winner. And Symphony in Red, I thought, made up some late ground, but particularly liked the effort of Costa's Crown.
I was with you as Costa's Crown as one of my key follows from the meeting. Just the way he had to steady off heels, had to weave a passage, finished off really nicely. Going into it, the trials were really good, and I thought he looked excellent. The way he returned as a physical type in the mounting yard, I think it's a big preparation in store for him. And as you mentioned, 1,100, I think is going to be a sweet spot. We saw him run third in a Sires, so I think it's going to be a big preparation for him. And Tiffany Street, you touched on, obviously not able to quite reel in Just Go, but a horse that they've had a lot of problems with the barriers, so didn't go to the trials. Probably the first time she's been through the barriers this preparation, so good to see her go in. I think she put up a little bit of a fight. They put the barrier blanket on, but good to see she went in and did everything right.
The 2 wins for her last preparation were both over 1,100 metres, so I think getting back to Ascot and those 11s, maybe even 12s, would be suitable for her. And Costa's Crown, just having another look, if you're running third in a size over 1,400 as a 2-year-old, invariably you're going to be getting 1,400 and beyond as you mature, and that size, if I recall, was run at just farcically slow pace that day. He was back in the field. He was beaten less than a length, so he was huge in the size. I think he's a really nice horse.
By Superdo, and it's a Sebring from Widden Stud. Buenos Noches, who won the Poseidon at Flemington on protest yesterday, is by Superdo as well. They may be a side to just keep an eye on, or he may be a side to keep an eye going forward.
The Daily... on the Casey yard, they send their horses to all sorts of stallions, don't they? They're really, really well-bred stock.
Yeah, well, exactly. But I think they're always looking for the next one on the way up. And
Lope de Vega, I remember. They sent
Lope de Vega, they went a lot to them. Superdo by Sebring. I think Sebring's going to be a very good sire of size.
Yep.
So one to follow, because they do like going on a bit of rain-affected ground as well. Race number 3, the Amelia Park Handicap, and this event was over the 1,200 metres.
Back on the inside with nowhere to go, Real Grace. In the middle, Enticing, and towards the tail, Secret Statue. Dunbar comes at Protégé. Watson has to go to work. Dunbar got its head in front. Protégé gone. 200 to go. Dunbar hits the lead. Down the outside, Enticing. Further back, Spirited Session. Dunbar joined by Enticing. Dunbar fights Enticing. On the outside, keeps coming. Enticing and Dunbar. Dunbar, Enticing, almost a dead heat. Couldn't split them. Enticing Dunbar from
well, it was a tighty. Enticing. Jason Brown doing battle with Paul Harvey, 2 veteran jockeys who have obviously had a lot of battles over the years, Britt, but to sit down and watch this one was really enjoyable, and your man Jason Brown got the right result.
Oh, well, I'm glad it was him and not the Pont on this occasion, because it was a very, very tight finish, and I must admit, watching it live, I really thought Dunbar had got Enticing. Probably lucky for Enticing that it was a horse like Dunbar that doesn't win out of turn, because Enticing has been known to sort of throw them up a little bit in the early parts of his preparation, but to his credit, a winner at 2 of his last 3 now. And the concern going into the race, in fact, there was even conversation around scratching him yesterday, was just the fact that there's rain coming next week, and we were on a drying deck yesterday, and we know that he's a headwater. He goes really well on rain-affected surfaces, and the concern was just that was it going to be too dry for him, and that would it be better to race next week? But as it turned out, it didn't bother him yesterday. He was able to finish off really nicely. He's a horse that we've always thought had it. He's just had to really learn the caper, and I think Jason Brown's really figured out the key to him, and that's to he rides him hard in the early stages. He's a get-back horse, but you don't want to let him get away with anything, so he sort of keeps at him the whole time, and yesterday was able just to get the better of Dunbar, who did really well sitting outside the leader and fighting on, but I guess the big talking point out of it was the Spruik horse Protege.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on Enticing, I agree with the comments regarding Jay. Since he's gone on two wins, 2 placings in the 4 runs, his form appears to have turned around. But I understand you met a new owner yesterday as well. A little bit of a story with Enticing.
We go in to get the owner's photo and...
You'll like this one, Mart.
With the horse, and there's this man who's there, and I'm looking at him, I think, I don't know this man.
He's not just standing there either.
He's not just standing there. He's got the horse, he's kicked Kayla out of the way, and he's holding the horse's bridle in the photo. And I turned to the other owners, I said, is he with you? They said, nope, never seen him. I said, hey, excuse me, are you in the horse? I have not met you before. And he's in a thick... I thought it was Italian. Turns out it's Russian. Turns out he's a Russian man. And he says, I had 1,000 on. I get 12,000 back. I said, okay, good. Great result. But, why are you holding the horse? And he said, oh, no, I'm friends with an owner. I said, we are the owners. This is us. This is all us. And he said, oh, no, he was here just before. I said, no, he's not. Get out of the photo.
He's had an absolute fill-up and he just wants a photo with the horse.
Anyway... turns out he did it with Honeydew a few weeks ago, but we just thought that, he must be one of Brad's friends or something has jumped in.
You have a stable stalker.
He literally just walks in with confidence and has now got 2 winning photos with our horses, and no one has any idea who he is. Just some Russian man.
But yes, Dunbar was, I thought was a really brave run. Looked the winner to the eye in the live post, but to Enticing's credit, just got the nose down and... Dunbar was set outside the Spruik horse there and Protege, went around favourite, did miss the kick but was hunted to the lead, eyeballed throughout. I just didn't think he seemed to be all that comfortable. He sort of free-bowled in front in his maiden win. He was pressured from the outset yesterday, had to be used up early, had a horse outside him. I even think he may have been on the wrong lead leg going around the bend, but he sort of threw it in pretty quick. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was something amiss or whether he just didn't appreciate having to be used up at both ends and then pressured throughout.
Naturally, it was a big step up. So if the horse... was to be defeated, you wouldn't be surprised if it ran second or third. But the fact that he faded as much as he did, it does indicate that there's probably something wrong there. It'll be very interesting to see what comes out of it. I'm sure Mitch Pateman, it was in the steward's report that there'll be he'll notify the stewards of any findings. So it'll be interesting to see how the horse pulled up. Horse that I think is racing well, Secret Statue, settled last, ran the equal fastest last 600, exact same time as Enticing did, but Enticing just had that map advantage and so was able to win, whereas Secret Statue was only able to run on into third. But I think the horse is racing nicely.
As is Spirited Session. Loved the run of this horse yesterday. 3 wide, no cover throughout, 60.5 kilos, gave the winner 5 kilos. Thought it was a really good effort. Ends up only being beaten a length and was only a nose away from holding third. Similarly, Real Grace has had 2 starts this time in, and I actually think Chris was really stiff there yesterday. I don't think anyone would have expected Protege to fall back in your lap, and he was 3 back the fence, stuck to the rail, and he would have thought in his own mind that you're following the right horse who's probably going to take you into the straight, and Protege just ended up tiring and fell right back into him, so he had nowhere to go, and that's 2 luckless runs for Real Grace, who was travelling well on both occasions, so keep an eye on her moving forward.
Absolutely.
Move on to race number 4, the Crown Perth Handicap over 1,400.
However, followed by Rock On Tommy and War Class. No change, balances up in front. Tackled on the outside by Vogue's Choice. Vogue's Choice, no change. Vogue's Choice gets its better. A length and a half away, Serviceman. Followed down the outside, Rain of Fire. Now Western Knight works into the clear. They went to the 100. Vogue's Choice booted a length and a half in front. Western Knight coming down the outside. Vogue's Choice will hold him. Vogue's Choice wins it. Vogue's Choice a long head. Western Knight second, Serviceman third from No Change, and then Rock On Tommy.
Okay, Heaton Ballantyne and Lucy Warwick combining here for the win with Vogue's Choice.
Nice win outside the leader, but they didn't go overly quick here. For perspective, obviously very, very different classes of races. This is a 60 plus, and the other one of the other 1400s on the day is the Farnley. This was run 14 lengths slower. So you look at a horse like Western Knight, the favourite, and again finishing off strongly, but just was fighting for more rain from Clint Johnson-Porter at times, and you just think that this is a horse that's going to need a race setup and shape that has either more tempo, perhaps even up in grade, where they go that little bit quicker in order to get a win, because it's a hard horse to follow in the sense that, we've seen twice now him attack the line without quite getting there. But yesterday I just think that he was a victim of the fact that they went slow, and he just needs that little bit more tempo, but clearly he's a horse that still has an abundance of ability.
Yeah, I think Western Knight's really talented. He's just screaming for a race with tempo. I think he may improve the better class of race that he gets in, but Vogue's Choice has really good ability as well. She's now won 3 of 6, so she's a progressive type. She's a lightly raced 4-year-old. She's won 2 of her 3 starts this time in. The other race she finished a close second in when starting favourite, so wasn't a bad effort. She drew barrier 8 of 8, cruised across to the breeze there, but as you mentioned, they didn't go overly quick, but she was still able to hold Western Knight through the line, who you'd think maybe more ground and a better tempo would really suit him. He's just still a little bit green, and he was held up fleetingly on straightening as well. I think he's a nice horse, just looking for those couple of benefits. Serviceman had the run of the race, battled on well, and I actually think No Change may have been a touch disappointing, just considering they did go steady, and it was his 3rd run in 17 days, but the winner sat outside him. The box seat horse, who I don't think Serviceman's any superstar, went past him, and obviously Western Knight went straight past him, so perhaps the 59 kilos and the 2.5, 3 runs within 17 days took its toll. He was still only beaten a length and a half. He's still going well, but he did start second favourite in the race.
Does Rain of Fire, 1,400 metres, does it just stretch him?
I think so. Colin Webster thought yesterday that with a bit of maturity that he should be able to run 14. He's won over 1,300 previously, but the tempo may have been against him somewhat, but still he had a really nice run, 1 out and 2 back. Rock on Tommy was on his back and went straight past him, got in a really nice effort. So I think Rain of Fire was disappointing. Back to 1,200, certainly more suitable.
How about Rock on Tommy? 18th run of the prep.
Yeah, he's
the old boy.
What's the winning drought now? I think it's at
1,281 days.
Yes, so it's been a while, and he's dropped about 20 ratings points, Rock on Tommy, from his peak, but
he'll sneak one.
He's getting
2 starts ago, finished second.
Yeah, he's going well.
Race number 5, the Glenroy Chaff Handicap over the 1,600 metres, won by Benji's.
The Persuader there in front of Candlelight Supper, Arrow Swift, and still back last, Marlies, Noble Born, Benji. So the 2 fancies there together, locking horns. Benji's on the outside. Now draws a half to 3/4. Noble Born down to the 200. Then 2 lengths behind those Scorpion Storms. Further back behind them, Candlelight Supper. Benji's in front, Noble Born coming back though. Benji's, Noble Born trying to rally. Benji's kept going from Noble Born. Benji's won it. Benji's, in a real test of attrition, has gunned Noble Born down eventually, and 3rd Candlelight Supper behind those.
Yes, best bet for Riley Morgan on Unhinged on Thursday. Benji's gets the money. Cliff Green, Steve Parnham combined to beat Noble Born in a great slog. There was Parnham and Paddy Carberry doing it up the straight against each other. Candlelight Supper back in 3rd.
Wasn't it a good finish? It was leader, an outside leader, and it was Benji's who got the better of Noble Born. To Noble Born's credit, I thought Benji's was actually just going to sort of keep sailing past her, but she just wouldn't lie down. She kept fighting. She kept trying to reel him back in, but Benji's is just in fine form. That was his 3rd win in a row. And speaking to Cliff Green, he said the difference has just been that the penny is just starting to drop, which seems a funny thing to say about a 5-year-old now. You'd think he'd have had that experience enough that it might have happened sooner, but listening to him, to Steve Parnham, they're still talking about improvement in this horse in 12 months' time. So you look at that, then he's a 6-year-old, but they seem to think that we haven't seen the best of Benji's, and this is at a point where we've seen him win 3 in a row. So good to see him putting it all together, because clearly he's a hard horse to beat when he's able to sort of put himself in a position where he makes his own luck in a way, and He's hard to run down.
Yeah, he is, and he's shown that tactical versatility as well. He only won, I think, one of his first 13 starts, and now he's won his next 3. So clearly he's been a work in progress. He always showed really good ability, but for whatever reason, he's just taking that little bit longer to mature. And it was a good win yesterday. Sat in the breeze against a horse that bolted in last start, carried 3 kilos more, 59.5 kilos, and I don't think he wants any further than 1,600 metres at this stage of his career, but it was still a really good effort from Noble Born, who I remember the last start win, Kelly Kinnemont said post-race that this horse is a staying type who will be better suited over more ground than a mile. And then I interviewed Pat Carberry and he was of the same opinion. And that run yesterday, I think, just suits that down to the T. He was led throughout, and then the winner went past her on straightening, and she looked like she was going to probably finish second or third, but then she came again on the line and she was only beaten ahead. I thought it was the run of a horse that would be suited perhaps 2,000 metres in the coming starts. Candlelight Supper, really good run from back in the field, only coming out of a maiden in a Class 1. I think this is a nice horse and hit the line really strongly. Outside of that, I thought it was a pretty average race in all honesty for a graduation race, but the first 3 across the line, I think we can be following, and there are Saturday wins in store, but the rest of the field either on their mark or probably better suited in lesser company.
Yep, agree with that. Candlelight Supper I thought was a really good finish. You talk about horses that are going to be better suited. It's over a little bit more ground. It's just a hard one while we're at Belmont with these 1,600 metre horses that attack the line who look like they might want 1,800, given we don't have that 1,800 metre start. So it is that big step up if they are to go to more of that staying trip. But I agree with you. Those first 3, I thought was a good finish by Candlelight Supper.
Halfway stage of Racing Rewind. We'll take a break.
You're listening to Racing Rewind, brought to you by Sessions, standing the 22-23 season at Oakland Park Stud. Breeders of demerit consider Sessions, who is also a son of the highly successful Longo.
Idle. In behind them, off we go. Tacking onto the back of them now is So War. He's often gone at the top of the straight, but as he does, West River Miracle can come off the fence. Buster Bash in full flight at the 250. Buster Bash clear of West River Miracle and Blinder. Blinder's coming down the outside, but Harvey really starts to rouse up the leader. Buster Bash at the 100. He's got them done, Buster Bash. He's starting to draw away from Blinder, West River Miracle, and Buster Bash proved much too good again. Buster Bash by 3 to Blinder, West River Miracle.
David Harrison and the Pond combining there with Buster Bash. Beats Blinder, West River Miracle, So War fourth.
Rinse and repeat of the race a fortnight ago. The 4 horses that came out of that race that was won by Buster Bash 2 weeks ago were the first 4 across the line, and it was the same result with Buster Bash leading all of the way. I thought the race was interesting in that it changed complexion when Taj Dyson took Bella's Idol around them and to sit outside the leader.
Pont would have loved that.
One of the key things I thought was that Chris Parnham, sort of the awareness of him to see the horse coming, and immediately he looks to his inside to cross back down to the fence because he doesn't want to be on the back of Bella's Idol, and they're stretching them out enough that he can just, like you're on the freeway, put your indicator on and just move into the other lane. I thought it was great awareness and did his best for West River Miracle to give him the best chance of winning, whereas a horse like Blinder all of a sudden is forced on the back of Bella's Idol and has to make more of a sustained run, has to move to the 3 wide line and try and sort of cover extra ground. And in the end, Blinder's run a nice race to finish second, but they just no match for Buster Bash. 2 in a line now, and a very nice win.
He's a good horse, won 6 of 17 now. He's won on a good track twice. He's won on a soft track twice. He's won on a heavy twice. So he's effective on all grounds. And I actually think Paul would have loved it when Bella's Idol came to the breeze there yesterday. You could just see him start to stack and rack when West River Miracle went behind. Paul's the master of that. If the horse to beat is just on his back, then he'll just goes nice and steady and then sprints from the turn, and it's hard for them to be able to reel him in from there. I thought West River Miracle is probably a touch plain compared to how well he's been racing. Speaking to Ben yesterday, it may be an end of prep run for him, but he's done a remarkable job, West River Miracle. He's had 6 starts this campaign, first prep for the Pierce Yard, 3 wins and 3 minor placings, and that includes a couple of Saturday wins there as well. But Buster Bash onto bigger and better things. I think Harrow said he may take him to Kalgoorlie, but he's looking for 1,800 metres as well. If there's a 1,760 metre race on Cal Cup Day on that Metropolitan card, I'd say the Kalgoorlie Cup card, I think that it probably suits him. Blinder, nice run as you mentioned, West River Miracle as well, and Sowar, I think he'll pick one up this campaign. He just gets back in the field and floods home late. Do you need
further at this point?
Perhaps he has run some good races over the staying journey, so he may well do, but I think he's going particularly well.
Even last start, he didn't fully travel into it, but then yesterday, once he's balanced up, he finished off strongly.
Yeah,
so
he's pretty much produced the same type of run.
Exactly.
All 3 runs this time in, and they've all been over a mile. So
over a bit further, travels into it a bit nicer, and then is able to sort of get into it in the straight.
Race number 7 was the happy 80th birthday Ted Putter Robinson handicap, and it was over the 1,000 metres.
Back on the inside is Kia Aura Star, and then back behind those all-day session, followed by Don't Fuss and Denim Pack. State of Power on the outside of Double Jeopardy. At the 250, Double Jeopardy. Stoked up, State of Power goes with it. Go forward, goes to the outside. Looking for a run behind them, Kia Aura Star. State of Power at the 120 reaches the lead. Kia Aura Star getting up on her inside. State of Power, Kia Aura Star comes. Kia Aura Star coming quickly. Kia Aura Star. Kia Aura Star, beautiful ride to get home from State of Power. All day session snatching third. They beat
off. Beautiful ride, but a beautiful training performance by Harry. Well done, Roy. Gets the money with Brad Rawiller combining. Kia Aura Star beating State of Power an all day session in third.
What a win this was by the 9-year-old. Has never contested a 1,000-metre race in his 58 start career prior to yesterday, and goes to 1,000 metres at start 59 as a 9-year-old and wins. And not only wins, it's the way he did it, having to wait for that gap as a veteran horse to pick up and sprint the way he did. I thought was just a really good performance. He was backing up again off the 7 days. This was the third time in a week that he'd run, and his 2 previous weeks that he's been at Belmont, we're at 1,300 metres. So to drop back to 1,000 and do what he did yesterday was a really good performance by the old boy Kia Aura Star.
Yeah, it was. And as Marty said, good training performance too. Consecutive 1,300 metre runs back to 1,000. Backing up for a third straight week. He does love the backup, but still a good training there by Roy, who, by his own admissions, obviously had a slow start to the season. But I liked his interview there yesterday. He was quick to remind everyone that he has trained 100 winners the last couple of seasons. So he's had a steady start, but hasn't had a huge amount of runners. But he'll start cranking up now, especially heading in to Albany. But just having a look, this horse goes best for Brad as well. His last 2 wins have been the last 2 times Brad has ridden him, and they've both been 7 starts apart. The first was over 1,400 metres. 7 starts later, Brad wins, jumps back aboard, and wins over 1,000.
I dare say they won't wait another 7 starts to have him back on.
No, and the start prior to that was a couple of starts before he last won. Brad rode, and he ran second, beaten a nose. So has a really good record on the horse, and it was just good to see him take that gap and finish off well from State of Power, who has been a model of consistency. I don't think she's any superstar, but she's just a really good bread and butter horse, especially through the winter. Kia Aura Star did have 4.5 kilos more than her, but was still a really good effort. All day session, good run. He has to be a 1,000-metre horse now. All of his best runs have been over 1,000 to 1,200 metres. I think Ash has tried to stretch him out, but I think the proof's in the pudding now. If you go through all of his runs, every time he drops back in distance, he produces a sharply improved run. So I think all day session just has to be a sprinter from now on.
How often, though, with horses like that do hit the line the way he did? He had the fastest last 600 of the race. There's this temptation to...
He might just be a get-back sprinter.
Exactly. Yeah. I remember, I think was it a Platinum Bullet, Simon Miller, Denard, and kept talking about, You fall into the trap of wanting to stretch them out that bit further because of the way they hit the line. But I think you're right, get back sprinter. And when Clint put the whip through to the left and gave me, he found another gear.
Yeah, I actually think he was a little bit unlucky as well. He had the favourite, who I thought was really stiff, 3 wide, no cover from barrier 4, go forward. Typically when that happens, it's because there's no real other option. There's the horses inside of you have held a position, and it's not necessarily a bad ride. It's just quite stiff. And All Day Session had the favourite 3 deep outside of him. He was following Timescale, who started to battle, turning for home. He pretty much had to wait till they straightened, check off heels, switch to the outside and come again, and he still flooded home to be beaten only half a length. So it was a really good run all day session from Go Forward, who, as I mentioned, very unlucky from a seemingly good draw, started favourite, just had a bad run of luck this time in, was plagued by unsuitably heavy tracks lately, and then yesterday finds a suitable setup and ends up having a tough run. And Double Jeopardy set the pace at a pretty good clip and battled on well to run 5th, but I think the rest of the field had their chance.
Well, race number 8, the main event, the Farnley Stakes for Furphy, and by gee, isn't this horse in form?
Now they're on the point of the home turn. Great again. It led the way, the old-timer from Fanta, immediately under pressure. Vain Tempest lets loose, followed further back at the head of the others, Darty, and back behind them, Resort Man starting to weave his way through the field. Inside the 200, Vain Tempest hit the front. Parham now hits the trigger, and Resort Man burst through the gap. Here comes Resort Man. Resort Man stormed to the lead. Western Temple coming late. Resort Man with another win. Resort Man from Western Temple and he always. Vain Tempest, Star Align, Fanta close up.
Yeah, horse flying, and a great win there by Resort Man, beautifully ridden again by Chris Parham. You could see at about the 800 metres there was going to be one winner in this race. He was travelling that beautifully.
Just needed an out.
I don't think you can underestimate or overstate the job that Michael Lane's done with this horse this campaign. He's been really vocal about the journey that he's been on with Resort Man, and what a preparation he's had. He kicked off with a 3rd in the Bowfine, wins the Bolton, we forget the Newmarket, wins the Idyllic Prince, and then wins the Farnley yesterday. It was a sensational ride by Chris Parham. I think Michael Lane had a few nervous moments watching from the stands as they're cornering for home, thinking, okay, where are you going to go, Chrissy? But Chris knew where he was going, and Resort Man too good for them again.
It's not only the horse. I think the journey that Michael's been on with the closure of the Bunbury track, and having to train and going to Collie and rejig his business, as he said on this program a couple of weeks ago, that has affected his business. He's lost owners because of it. Had he have his time again, he would probably have a little satellite stable closer to Perth, so he can alleviate the tyranny of distance and travel to Collie all the time. But you could almost feel in Michael's voice that it has actually taken a lot out of him emotionally and physically, dealing with it, and Resort Man has been the shining light that'll take you through that period. And so many times horses will do this for you when you'll hit a bad patch, whatever it be. I know Northerly did it for the Kersleys when financially things were tight, and then all of a sudden they're amazing beasts, and this horse has really taken Michael on a good journey. So is he beating up on older horses, or has he gone to another level where he should be maybe thinking about possibly going to the bigger races over the carnival?
I think the horse is flying. He's definitely gone to a new level this campaign. You look at his last preparation, he was only in ratings races. He was a little bit hit and miss, and this time in he's been in feature races, listed company from the get-go, and he's definitely come back better. I think from Michael's own admission as well, he's more of a Bunbury Stakes type of horse rather than
fringe horse.
Yeah, he's not up to weight for. He won the weight for age Idyllic Prince, but he's not up for a spring weight for age at Winterbottom, and perhaps
it's a very different. There's a very different group of horses that come back.
The new, it's the new Northerly Stakes, the 1400 metre race, that weight for age. He's probably, not up to that, but I think timing-wise, is perfect as well. He's almost clean swept the features this winter. We're in September. You give him a freshen up. The Bunbury Stakes isn't until March. It's just the perfect path, that Pinjarra Classic, Bunbury Stakes path, when the tier of horse probably isn't quite as strong as the spring, and 1,200 metres all the way to 1,400 metres. He even ran 3rd over the Bowfine over 1,000. So he's versatile, and he's definitely going better now. One horse I'm keen to keep following, though, is Western Temple. I've been big on him all preparation. Just been waiting for a barrier draw, and he's drawn the outside, I think, every single start. He's virtually most runs this time in. Just having a look now. 7 of 11 first up, 10 of 10 second up, 9 of 10 third up, and then 10 of 10 yesterday. He's well on track for a Hannon's handicap at his next run, I think it might be.
And two very different runs as well. Last start in the Idyllic Prince was outside the leader, and then yesterday settled back sort of near enough to last, and then that was questioned in the stewards report. They talked about that. The two races had had very different speed engaged in them, but clearly the horse is just going so well.
He always loved this horse, so versatile, 1,000 metres, 1,400 metres. It doesn't really seem to matter these days. Had a really nice run in transit. Vain Tempest I thought was huge, dipping up to stakes grade for the first time.
But how
3
unlucky,
wide, no cover.
As a mare,
yep,
to miss third.
It would have been huge.
It's a mare owned by Scenic, owned by a stud who's just missed black die placing to 3 geldings. It's so unfortunate for them.
Racing really. Just another couple I wanted to touch on. Star Line I thought was okay, but Fanta, it's a couple of races in a row now that he's probably been only fair. I think he's a horse that needs to find the rail in front to be able to lead under his own steam when he doesn't find the rail or he's not able to dictate terms. I just don't think he's quite as effective.
How strong was the market support as well? The market said that he was going to find the rail and
he was going to win.
Yeah. But Great Again was able to hold the lead.
Interestingly, Resort Man, just before we touch on the beaten jockeys, the 3 races he's won, he hasn't been favourite in. His worst run of the prep, when he finished 9th of 10, was the only start. He's finished favourite in this campaign as well, but that was on that heavy 10, which was a complete forgive run.
Well, if you'd have said 2 weeks ago that Resort Man wouldn't have been favourite in that race, you'd say, well, who will be? And if you had have said Fanta, you would have said, knock it off, surely.
Yeah, he beat them at weight for age. Now he's beaten them at handicap conditions.
We had a young lad out there on work experience doing the beaten jockeys yesterday.
Clint Johnston-Porter, Star Align.
I ended up a little bit further back than I wanted to be, but he hit the line good and strong, and he's probably ready to go to the Hannons now.
Thanks, mate. Craig Staples, E Always.
Yeah, super run in that company. We're really pleased. He held a good spot and then he hit the line pretty well.
Rummerly, Floyd.
It went really good. Hit the line really good. Maybe next time we might. And drop in division. It will be close.
Pat Carberry, Western Temple.
Yeah, ran really well. Jumped away a little bit awkward, so got a little bit further back than what we were sort of planning, but he drew awkward anyway. But, he just failed, but I think that'll top him off for the Hannons.
Joey has a party. Great again?
Yeah, it was all right. The 14 probably stretches him a bit, and he didn't have the advantage of a wet track, so game effort.
Jade McNaught, Vain Tempest.
Yeah, not a lot of luck, but a massive run.
Thank you. Brad Parnham, Fanta.
Yeah, wasn't a bad run, but he's just dropping the bridle his last 2 starts, just around the 600 there, and just costing him by not being able to skip a couple of lengths on him. But overall, he didn't get beat fast, so it wasn't a bad run.
Good job there, Michael. You get to keep that job. Now we go to the last race. No, it's Julio's, isn't it? Oh, it's the Stallions. You can't go Cuttings.
Heaton's Beatons has a good ring to it.
It does. Jules, you're in trouble. Race 9, free entry to Belmont Park, handicap over the 1400.
Trailed in turn by Green and Shady, then came Cressy. Further back, Little Flirt, Zero Demerits. Weapon Sun balances up at the 300, 3/4 clear. Brooklyn Pier gets on equal terms and now races to the front. Letting down brilliantly is Advanced. Here comes Advanced with its run. Advanced on the outside, races up to Brooklyn Pier, hits the front, pulls away, and the last is all over, bar the shouting. It's Advanced too good. Advanced beat Green and Shady late with the dive. From Brooklyn Pier, or getting right up on the inside, Holy Ghost. From Ginger Baker, the great one.
Yeah, good win. Advanced joined in and blew them away. Michael Grantham, Chris Barnum combining. Green and Shady from back, Holy Ghost, Brooklyn Pier, Ginger Baker.
Yeah, huge run from Green and Shady in the finish, but Advanced, the winner there, which the Cerise and White hadn't been having the greatest of days. We'd sort of all been on Peter's Investments Horses Watch on the East Coast, and it, for the most part, hadn't been their day. So Bob was pleased to finish the day with a winner. Advanced, a horse that he bought, of course, would be the brother of a Platoon, and it was nice to see this horse sort of put it all together.
Big win. I think it's a win of a horse that's really going places. Granted, it was probably a swooper's race as looking at the results, but he was the only horse to win from that far back all day, and he didn't just win, he belted them in the end, won by nearly 2 lengths, and the way he lengthened was the sign of a horse that should be perhaps progressing to some races at Ascot. Green and Shady was really good as well, hit the line super. Holy Ghost settled a long way back, but just stuck to the rail, held up a little bit on straightening, but was able to take all the shortcuts. And Brooklyn Pier, I thought, was a brave run. Drew Barrier 12 of 12, worked across to the breeze. There was a solid tempo throughout, went past the leader on straightening and battled on well to run 4th. Outside of that, Ginger Baker, I thought, had every chance, but perhaps in review, it was a race dominated by those coming from well back, so perhaps the box seat wasn't the place to be, but I think it's all about Advanced here. A really good win. I think this horse is a progressive type.
Completely agree.
Yeah, we discussed him on Unhinged on Thursday. I asked a question about him, and the boys were a little undecided at that stage, but I'm sure that win on Saturday would have convinced a few that, like you said, Michael, he's heading to better races than that.
And Bob thought, looking at him, that there may even be a bit more improvement to come. He actually sort of said to Chris, look after him, don't be...
condition-wise,
yeah,
in that run. Yep.
And that there could be some improvement to come out of yesterday's run. So it's good to know.
Take a break. We'll come back with horses to follow next.
You are listening to Racing Rewind, brought to you by Sessions, standing the 22-23 season at Oakland Park Stud. Sessions has more runners in the top 2% of earners than almost all stallions in Australia, including I Am Invincible and Zoostar, as per Blue Bloods Issue 3 2022.
On Racing Rewind, it is time for the boys to look back and determine who are the black bookers, the ones to be on next start, the horses to follow.
Okay, Michael, you can lead the batting here.
A couple for me, really keen to follow Costa's Crown, Western Temple in the Hannon's Handicap, and I like the way Spirited Sessions racing as well.
Costa's Crown for me and Real Grace couldn't possibly be held up 3 times in a row, could she?
I like Advance. I think it's a horse going places. One to keep an eye on. Carnarvon Cup yesterday, sponsored by Tab Touch, a $70,000 race. Great story, this. Native Chimes, Aaron Pateman and Kira Yule combining to beat Arnie's boy Marksy and a Mystical Man back in 4th.
Super win, 60 kilos, drew barrier 14 of 14, had to work hard early, bolted in by a couple of lengths. She's been absolute ripper. She's brought up a winning hat-trick. The transfer from the grass to the dirt's clearly been a winning recipe. She's won for Darren. She's won for Aaron Pateman now. And now won over 200,000. So great to see the Carnarvon Cup worth 70 grand now, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Was a really good performance. And I think a fitting result too. They would have been devastated with when the barrier draw came out, I'm sure, but it didn't matter in the end.
Did not. It doesn't surprise me that she's doing well on the dirt either, a mare like Native Chimes. And 3 in a row now, she's doing super.
It surprises me that she won over 2,000 though.
And that she won with a sit the other day.
So you wouldn't have thought 12 months ago that she'd be winning with 60 kilos over 2,000. So they've done a really good job with her.
Yeah, the combination of father and son there, Darren and Aaron, it's worked beautifully, hasn't it? He's been able to divide that team and go to different venues at the same time while going around the north, and now they're making their way down and they've nailed a Carnarvon Cup as well.
You're going to York today?
I am going to York today with Scott Emery.
You and Scott on Sky Thoroughbred Central?
Scotty will be in morning. Dockers.
Yes.
He actually...
thought you meant Her Majesty, but yes.
Same.
He actually... Well, we should be.
Well, we have a public holiday that's just been announced on the Thursday, National Day of Mourning.
Mm-hmm. And just talking about it, just off air, the world's lost 3 of the biggest racehorse owners ever in the last 12 months. Hamdan Akmal Tum, Khalid Abdullah, so Maktoum from Shadwell, Abdullah from Juddmonte, and now the Queen. It'll be interesting to see the what happens going forward.
Yeah,
somebody would have to take over, wouldn't they?
Well,
you can't
you've
just
got to
sell.
take over and just work your way through it.
But I guess the next batch of horses, they won't be purchasing more.
All of that. Well, enjoy having a bet today at York, punters. Hope you can find a winner. Leah Ernest to take us through the morning into the afternoon. She's up and about, the Panama Pepper Girl. Britt, thanks for coming in. Also to you, Michael.
Thanks, boys.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day here on this beautiful Sunday, 23 degrees.